All right, welcome back, everyone. We're about to embark on another deep dive. This time, it's all about expanding your vocabulary.
It's like giving your language skills a serious power-up.
Exactly. We've got 10 words, powerful words, that can really elevate how you communicate.
Yeah.
And, it's not just about sounding smarter.
No, not at all. It's about expressing yourself with more precision, more nuance.
Yeah, adding that extra punch to your writing, your conversations.
Think of it as unlocking deeper levels of meaning, both for yourself and the people you're communicating with.
Love that. Okay, so let's dive right in. Our first word is ameliorate. Now, we've all come across situations where things could be better, right? Problems that need fixing.
Right.
But how does ameliorate go beyond just a simple fix?
Well, ameliorate implies a more thoughtful approach, like you're not just putting a Band-Aid on something. You're really trying to improve it to make it genuinely better.
So it's about addressing the root cause, not just the symptoms.
Exactly. Think of it like this. A social program designed to ameliorate poverty. It wouldn't just provide temporary relief.
Right.
It would aim to tackle the underlying issues that contribute to poverty in the first place.
Okay, that makes sense. So it's about creating lasting positive change. Got it. Now, this next word, obfuscate. I have to admit, it sounds a little, obfuscated.
It does, doesn't it? It sounds a bit like what it means.
Right.
Basically, think of obfuscate as intentionally making something unclear or confusing.
Like muddying the waters.
Exactly. Like a politician might use obfuscating language to avoid giving a direct answer. Or those super complex instruction manuals?
Oh, yeah, those are the worst.
They're definitely masters of obfuscation.
Okay, I'm feeling less obfuscated about obfuscate. On to our next word. Sagacious. This one always makes me think of like wise old mentors or something.
You're right on the spot. It definitely has that wise, almost mystical feel to it.
So is it just a fancy way of saying smart?
Not exactly. Sagacious suggests more than just intelligence. It implies wisdom gained through experience, through years of learning and observation.
So it's about having that deep understanding of life, of how things work.
Yes, and being able to apply that wisdom to make sound judgments and decisions. Think of a leader who guides their team through tough times with sagacious advice.
Got it. So it's not just about knowing things, it's about knowing what truly matters.
Hmm.
Okay, next up, perplexed. We've all felt perplexed at some point, right?
Absolutely. Who hasn't? It's that feeling of being completely puzzled, confused, like you're lost in a maze.
Yes, like when you're trying to solve a riddle and you just can't crack it.
Exactly. Or maybe you get an email with some news that leaves you totally bewildered.
I've definitely been there.
So perplexed. Perfectly captures that feeling of being utterly stumped.
On to juxtaposition. I love this word. It's one of those words that instantly makes you sound smarter.
It does have a certain intellectual ring to it, but it's more than just sounding smart. Juxtaposition is a powerful tool in art, literature, even everyday life.
So what's the magic behind it?
It's about creating contrast, placing two things side by side to highlight their differences.
So like comparing and contrasting.
Yes, but in a more visual or conceptual way. Like, think of a photograph that juxtaposes the bustling city with the tranquility of nature.
Ah, I see. It's about making those differences stand out, making us think about the relationship between those two things.
Exactly. And that contrast can be really powerful, thought-provoking.
Okay, I'm starting to see why it's such a favorite in creative fields. Now let's talk about lucid. It reminds me of those moments when everything just clicks, when your thoughts are clear and organized.
Yes. Lucid is all about clarity, whether it's clarity of thought or clarity of expression.
So it applies to both thinking and communicating.
Absolutely. Think of a writer who can explain a complex topic in a way that's easy to understand. That's lucid writing.
Or a speaker who can articulate their ideas with precision and conciseness.
Exactly. Lucid communication is a gift, both for the speaker and the listener.
Got it. It's about cutting through the clutter and making things clear and accessible. Okay, next word. Audacious. What comes to mind when you hear this word?
To me, audacious is all about boldness, daring, that willingness to take risks and push boundaries.
So it's a positive trait.
Well, it depends on the context. It can be positive when it leads to innovation, to breakthroughs, like an entrepreneur who launches an audacious new venture or an artist who challenges conventions with their work.
Right, so it can be a driving force for progress.
But it can also be negative if it's reckless or irresponsible. Like an audacious plan that's not well thought out could lead to disaster.
That's true. So it's about having the courage to be bold, but also the wisdom to know when to rein it in. Okay, on to ubiquitous. I feel like this word is, well, ubiquitous these days.
That's the point. It means being or seeming to be everywhere at once.
Like the internet.
Exactly. It's hard to imagine life without it now. It's become so ingrained in our daily lives.
And it seems like every day there's some new technology that's becoming ubiquitous.
That's the nature of progress. Things that were once novel become commonplace.
And sometimes we don't even realize how much something has permeated our lives until it's gone. Okay, next up, plethora. I always associate this word with abundance, sometimes maybe a little too much abundance.
You're right. Plethora means a large or excessive amount of something.
Like having a plethora of options when choosing a new phone.
Exactly. Or maybe you're facing a plethora of challenges in a new project.
Or maybe you have a plethora of snacks in your pantry that you really shouldn't be eating.
That's the downside of a plethora. Too much of a good thing can sometimes be, well, too much.
That's very true.
Yeah.
So plethora can be both positive and negative depending on the context. And finally, let's talk about fleeting. This word has such a beautiful, almost melancholy feel to it.
It does, doesn't it? Fleeting captures that sense of time passing, of moments that are precious because they're temporary.
Like the fleeting beauty of a sunset.
Exactly. Or the fleeting joy of a childhood memory. These experiences are special precisely because they don't last forever.
It's a reminder to savor those moments, to appreciate the beauty of impermanence.
And to make the most of the time we have.
Well said. So there we have it, 10 words that can truly enrich your vocabulary and your understanding of the world around you.
And remember, the best way to make these words your own is to use them.
Exactly. Don't be afraid to experiment, to play with language, to see how these words can add depth and nuance to your communication.
And who knows, you might even inspire others to expand their vocabularies along the way.
Absolutely. Now, as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with a thought. Think about the word fleeting. And consider, what's the most fleeting yet meaningful experience you've had recently? Let that question linger in your mind as you go about your day. Thanks for joining us, and keep those vocabularies growing.
Keep learning.